So we go ahead with organizing, and we did various concepts about organizing. We did the different structures. We did the formal and informal structure last when we wound up, and how we found out the differentiation between both of them. What is formal organization and what is informal organization. Okay, and the scope of this chapter is very vast, and we have to touch about a lot of concepts, and now we are almost coming to the end of all these concepts. I come to a concept which is known as delegation. Okay, now let's understand the meaning of the word delegation well now. Delegation basically means when you are transferring, as a superior, you're transferring your responsibility to the subordinate. Why? Because you have the authority to do so. Okay, so delegation refers to the transfer of authority from a superior to a subordinate. Okay, and mind you, he just doesn't give them, doesn't transfer the authority, but he sees to it that the person is responsible, and he gives him feedback. So that is accountability for you. So what we do is that after understanding the process of delegation, now delegation is very important simply for the fact that sometimes the top management gets burdened with too much of work. So they have to train the people under them, because in the process of expansion, what happens? You might have a new branch somewhere else, so you require a manager. So now if that person is trained, he will be easily be able to handle when a new branch is opened. Okay, so delegation is a very important aspect here, and we come to know that in the elements of delegation, we have got authority, responsibility and accountability. Authority is simply means when the right to take decisions is given, and responsibility is basically the subordinate's responsibility. He is answerable to his top boss, and also he is accountable if it goes right, if it goes wrong, and why does it go wrong. All these things are said to be put forward. So let's touch upon these certain words, like what is responsibility, what is authority, and what is accountability. Okay, we first touch upon the word responsibility. Okay, basically I would give responsibility to a person whom I can trust, and the same thing the superior in that organization will do the same. Okay, he will give responsibility to his most trusted subordinate. Okay, because he knows that this person knows his job, he works dedicatedly, he takes good decision, and he is reliable. Okay, so all these features have to be there in a subordinate in order that he gets his responsibility. So what is responsibility? It means the obligation of a subordinate to properly perform the assigned duty. So whatever is given, whatever assigned duty is given to him, he sees to it that he performs properly. Responsibility arises from the superior and subordinate relationship. Of course, the superior has to give work to the subordinate, and the subordinate has to carry it out in his best of abilities. Why? Because the subordinate is bound to perform. Okay, the duty assigned to him by the superior. So a responsibility arises from the superior subordinate relationship, because the subordinate is bound to perform the duty assigned to him by the superior. Okay, responsibility always flows upwards from a subordinate to a superior. Okay, so it goes, he has to report to him, so the flow is upward. It includes all those activities. It could be physical activities, or it could be even thinking, mental activities. There are certain decisions which you have to take, so you have to think about all those facts. You have to think about the external environment, external things which are going to happen, and then you have to take a decision which needs to be performed, and there it has to carry out in a certain manner. Okay, so this is responsibility for you, and from responsibility I go to the next term, which is authority. Authority is a right of an individual to take necessary decisions and to command his subordinate. Okay, he has the right. He tells you do this today. Your job list, your to-do list is this, and you follow it, and it has to be carried forward. Okay, it arises from an established scalar chain. A scalar chain is basically who's there on the top, who comes below that person. So it is there, and this links various job positions and the levels of the organization. Okay, so this is authority is not just thing, it is required to perform a given responsibility. So, okay, it always moves downwards from a superior to a subordinate. Why? Because the subordinate, the superior has the authority to do so. He gives it down to the subordinate who has to carry it. For effective delegation, the authority must commensurate with the assigned responsibility. So it has to go hand in hand. It's not just the superior who gives the job to the, or he gives a specific task to his subordinate, but the subordinate has to be trusted and he has to do the job. If authority granted exceeds responsibility, it might result in misuse of authority. If authority granted exceeds responsibility, it may result in misuse of authority. While in the reverse case, if responsibility assigned is more than authority, then the subordinate will not be able to discharge his duties well. So we have to see to it that it all goes hand in hand. Okay, so we come to the third aspect. We covered responsibility, authority, and now we come to accountability. Now, what is accountability? Accountability basically means that you are answerable. Okay, whatever job has been given to you, your boss tells that you are supposed to manufacture 1,000 units today at the end of the day. Okay, and you have to continue doing so. Fine. So 1,000 units you have to produce, okay, and by chance if you produce 980 units, so the question will always arise is that why that 20 units were not produced? What did you do? Why it happened? What were the factors responsible for that 20 units not produced? Because remember that if you're getting an order of 1,000 units and you don't execute the order and it is an urgent order, okay, the next time this customer will not come to you, he will search for another person to do the job. So if your organization has to succeed, you have to see that if you're given the responsibility, you are also accountable for it. So you are answerable. Okay, if some job is given to you, some task is given to you, why you have not done it, and you might as well have a very good answer, and it has to prove to the fact that why you could not achieve that particular target. Okay, so these were the three elements of delegation: authority, responsibility, and accountability. From here, I go to what is importance of delegation. Why is it so important? Okay, the number one fact is that effective management. Effective means the work has to be done. See, what usually happens is that when the superior gives a work to a subordinate, the subordinate will feel good that yes, such a job is given to me which was not given to the others. So it will make him feel more responsible, and once he is more responsible, he is bound to carry the job. He is supposed to do anything but execute that particular job in the right manner. So there is effective management. Secondly, employee development. As I told you earlier, is that this is a process of building your, building your managers for the future. And if you can groom them right away, give them the right amount of responsibility now, they are the people who are going to achieve your targets very easily. Okay, so employee development. So at once when you set up a new branch or you set up a new unit, you have people ready to take charge. Okay, so what is happening? Your progress is happening much faster than the other organizations. Okay, so delegation is very important. Thirdly is motivation of the employees. Of course, if you are given a particular job to do, okay, which is not given to the others, imagine the amount of motivation you will get, because you are the chosen one, you are the one to execute the job which no one has been given. Okay, so it will motivate him that yes, my boss has seen something really good in me. Okay, he has appreciated the work which I have done all along and he has given me this job. So it is a very good motivational factor. Okay, so this is another very good importance of delegation. Fourthly, it facilitates growth. So there is facilitation of growth, and as I told you earlier is that once we start grooming all the subordinates and make them have those managerial abilities right away, okay, it is a process of growth. Your employees have got confidence that they can tackle any particular matter, and if anything arises, if any spot decision has to be taken, they will take the right decision because they are well groomed for it. Okay, so that was your point number 4, facilitation of growth. That was another importance of delegation. Now I go to the word basis of management hierarchy. Okay, you have a hierarchy. Hierarchy is just like a step which you move up or down, and this delegation from the top has to be given to someone below. Okay, it is like handing over the baton to some other, handing over the responsibility, because a certain stage comes in an organization where it's growing so rapidly and it needs, many of the duties need to be performed by your subordinate. So it is a basis of management hierarchy. Last but not the least in the importance of delegation, better coordination. People are working in the right manner, they are taking the right decision, they are combining the resources properly, they are working hand in hand, and they are getting the results for the organization. Okay, so this was delegation and all about delegation. So we did what was delegation, we did the elements of delegation, and we did the importance of delegation. Okay, so this was another important term. From this we shift our focus to centralization and decentralization, and this again becomes very important concept. Centralization basically means all the decisions are taken by one unit on the top, and no one else takes the decision, whereas decentralization basically means the decision making is divided, and it is it can be taken by the other people also. There is no need always to consult to the head. The other people can also take the responsibility and execute the particular thing. So what does centralization mean? It basically means concentration or retention of authority. Okay, because everything is taking place on the top. So concentration or retention of authority for decision making at the top level in the organization. So all your decisions are taken at the top level. That is centralization for you. Many a time, many of the decisions come from Delhi. The political decisions come from Delhi in order to execute certain things. So that is centralization. It comes from the center. Okay. Now we come to the word decentralization. It means a systematic delegation of authority. So it is quite linked to delegation. Okay. So what happens is that the superior passes, the top person passes on the responsibility to his people below, so that they can execute it. Because every time if the top person has to be contacted for even the smallest of thing, it is going to waste a lot of his time. Okay, which he can spend in taking other decisions which are of more value. Okay, so decentralization means systematic delegation of authority through all levels of management and in all departments, except which can be exercised only by the central power. So the central power, what decisions it takes, that it will take. The other decisions it can give it to the the ones below that. So decision making authority is pushed down in the chain of command. So it is not focused on the top. So that autocratic thing never comes into picture. Okay. So this is centralization. If you have to define the word decentralization, decentralization refers to a systematic effort to delegate to the lowest level all authority except which can be expressed at the central point. Okay, so the one decisions which a central authority can take, only that is kept, and besides that all the other decisions are pushed downwards. Okay, so this was centralization and decentralization for you. Let us understand the importance now of decentralization. Okay, it's almost quite similar to delegation of authority, but in a slight different manner. We shall come and discuss that also at the end of this session. Number one, it develops initiative among subordinates. Okay, so the subordinates are getting the power to take decisions, so they are very happy. They feel that they are more responsible. When they feel that amount of responsibility has come to them, they are bound to take the right decision, and it is good for the entire organization. Point number two in the importance of delegation is develop management talent for the future. Okay, we can't wait for something to happen and then create people. We have to groom them right away. Okay, every time is a stage, there is a certain stage when you need to groom your subordinates. Okay, and this talent will only be done if there is a certain amount of decentralization, where you allow the people below you to take certain decisions, okay, which you want them to take, and you do not want to be bothered about taking those decisions. Third point of importance, quick decision making. You don't have to go to, when you go up to the top levels, you have to climb many steps. Okay, so you pass it on to your boss passes on to his boss passes it on to his boss, and then finally it comes to the top boss. So imagine it could be a delay of 10 to 15 days. And what happens if you want to take a decision in 1 or 2 days? It will cost your organization a good amount of losses. Okay, so it is better that certain decision which can be taken on the spot be taken by the subordinates. Okay, so this is quick decision making, and it's also if we talk about another importance, the fourth importance, it is a source of relief to the top level management, because they get burdened with so many things. They have got so many deals to negotiate. In spite of that, some small thing which a decision can be taken by the others below them can be taken, and you can depend upon them taking the decision. Please do give it to them. It will be a word of good for you. Okay. Point number 5 in importance of decentralization is it facilitates growth. There is growth. Once you allow a person to take his own decision, he becomes more responsible, he becomes accountable, he is bound to carry on the right decisions. In many a way, he will carry on the right decision. So point number 5 tells it facilitates growth. Okay, also another point of importance of decentralization is better control. Okay, it allows you to focus on the core issues, and the routine issues can always be going from one person to the other person. Okay, so this was your importance of decentralization, and I hope you've understood this concept well. Now, from decentralization, I go to the differentiation between delegation and decentralization. This is a little bit important to understand. We try and compare it on certain basis. The first basis is nature or essentiality. Okay, delegation is mandatory. Okay, it is a mandatory act because no individual can perform all tasks on his own. So it has to be, okay, you cannot have one person controlling everything. He has to pass on certain work to the people below him. While as decentralization is an optional policy, and it depends upon the direction of the top management. Okay, it's all on the top management, what you want to give to your bottom management. So the base number 1 was nature. Let's go to the base number 2, freedom of action. Here the superior exercises more control over the performance of his subordinate to whom the authority is delegated. He is going to focus on him. But in case of decentralization, so much focus is not there. They just give him that you have got the freedom to take certain decisions. For example, there are certain checks which have to be signed. So in case of decentralization, the person simply authorizes. You can sign checks of 1 lakh. But in case of delegation, he have to consult to his superior and then get the go ahead. Okay, talking about the status. Delegation is a process followed to share the task and authority, of course, while as in case of decentralization, it is an outcome of the policy taken by the management. Okay, by which management? By the top management. Okay, so this is the status for you. Let's see the scope. Delegation is narrow. Okay, delegation is narrow because it is only superior subordinate. Okay, while as in case of decentralization, it is wide, because what happens is that decentralization comes under, your delegation comes under decentralization. So delegation is a narrow concept, while as decentralization is a broad concept. So that is your scope in regard to delegation and decentralization. Then I come to what is the purpose and significance. Basically, what is the purpose of delegation is to reduce or lessen the burden of the manager so that they can devote a greater amount of time and attention to important matters. While as in case of decentralization, its purpose is to increase the role of autonomy, okay, or freedom of action of the lower management. Okay, so this was your basis, and this is all the basis which is all about. So it was delegation and decentralization, another very important concept from the board point of view. You are supposed to know it well, and you are supposed to understand and put forward these facts properly. Okay, so that is your differentiation between delegation and decentralization. We went through the concepts of delegation, decentralization and centralization, and of course at last we discussed the differentiation between delegation and decentralization. I hope these concepts have sunk into your mind. I hope you revise these, because in as much as me putting it forward, it is important that you understand it and also read up a bit and put it into productive use. Okay, I enjoyed putting this session forward to you. I hope you too also enjoyed this session. This is Vishwanath Jatan signing off. Thank you so much.